What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day with all the options expirations and also what's happening with the trend on SPY that could be affecting Tesla stock as I give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use my QR code right over here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free NVIDIA stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of NVIDIA for free, plus $100 as the cash reward. If you deposit $10,000, you're going to get $300 worth of NVIDIA plus $100, or deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free NVIDIA stocks plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very, very soon. So if you want those free NVIDIA shares, check out my links down below or use this QR code. The offer ends in just about 10 days from now. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So Tesla did a very, very good job in the morning at pushing. We pushed about 433, very close to my 435 targets. But instead of holding above that, we came right back down. I mentioned that if we held above 425, Tesla would remain more bullish. But if we lost it, we would be expecting it to dip closer to like 415. That is where Tesla actually went to in the after hours. We did dip back down, and we're going to see if we hold up. Now, notice that we have this slight up thrust that is forming on Tesla. You could even draw this out as like a flag if you want. But overall, I just want to say that with the way Tesla's moving, there should be some kind of push tomorrow morning, just like with SPY and the markets. But things can shift as time goes on because of a very interesting thing I saw in the markets and for SPY. Meaning that the market does affect the way Tesla moves to some extent, although sometimes Tesla is stronger or weaker depending on the news. But sometimes the market does affect things. That's why I want to show you guys something very interesting. So when you look at SPY and go to the daily time frame, check out this pattern. Thursdays and Fridays tend to be opposite days. I was talking about this last week and I'm seeing the same thing again, meaning that if we go back to August, okay, I'm going to show you this very, very briefly. On August 7th, SPY was red on August 7th, which was Thursday. Then on Friday, we were green on August 8th. The next week on Thursday, which was August 14th, SPY was in the green. Then on Friday, August 15th, SPY went up a bit. Then it was red on Friday. So green on Thursday, red on Friday. Then on August 21st, SPY was in the red on Thursday. Then on Friday, August 22nd, we were in the green. We got very, very big green day. On Thursday, August 28th, SPY was in the green, nearing all-time highs at 650. Then on Friday, August 29th, we came right back down. Going into September, the same thing keeps on happening, right? If you look at, this day right here on Thursday, September 4th, we saw the market pushing. SPY was in the green on Thursday, September 4th. Then on Friday, September 5th, we pushed and came back down and closed in the red. 1 week later, we were green on September 11th, which was Thursday. That was last week. We were in the green. And then on Friday, we actually were consolidating. Then we came a little bit in the red and closed red. So the trend keeps on happening, right? When we're green on Thursday, we're red on Friday. When we're red on Thursday, we're green on Friday. We've done that every single week on SPY since the start of August. So we were green today. Today is Thursday. We were in the green on SPY. It does look like we're going to try to push a little bit higher. We could even try to make new all-time highs. But are we about to get an end-of-the-day sell-off? Is the market going to sell off towards the end of the day to fill these gaps? The QQQ has a gap to fill down here. So is that about to happen? Will that cause Tesla to kind of like pump and dump? Will Tesla push and then end up dipping to fill this gap? We'll have to see about that. It all depends on these factors. And then one thing that could really affect the whole market, which may in turn also affect Tesla, is this. The option chain is very crazy tomorrow for SPY. We have over 1.25 million of these calls expiring tomorrow, and we have over 3.85 million of these puts expiring for a 3.06 put to call option ratio. Max pain is currently at 640, which means that the market makers benefit the most by bringing us down to 640. But this could change intraday. This usually goes up to like 650, 655 or something like that. And maybe SPY might dip a little bit. We'll see if we get an end of the day sell off as a result. Will the market makers try to bring more of these like puts in the money? Will we start to see some shorts fight back? We'll see what ends up happening. That's why you want to be very cautious tomorrow. It's going to be very tricky. Typically on days like this, we see some chop in the morning. We go a little bit higher, then we may sell off at the end of the day. So we'll see. Anyways, going back to Tesla. So the daily is showing a little bit of weakness here. There is this gap down here in case we lose like 410, 402. There's a gap to fill down to 396. Those are going to be some key supports. But for resistance, you want to see Tesla break 425 to remain bullish. If you hold 425, we're looking for new highs in this trend. So when it comes to Tesla, there's been a lot of news about how for many of their 2021 Tesla Model Y SUVs, there's a faulty electronic door handle, which is stopping owners from entering and exiting the vehicles, according to the filing on their regulators' websites. That's why the NHTSA was looking through this. Tesla has come out and they're saying that they're working on the problem. So that's a very, very good piece of news. They're working on it, even though I'm seeing this all over the headlines right now. On top of this, Elon Musk has said that he sees Optimus representing 80% of Tesla's value in the future. That is amazing. It's astronomical. The response to the June robotaxi launch has been mixed from lots of different people, but at the end of the day, it's still great as they're expanding to Nevada and other regions. Very, very bullish overall. Wedbush is saying Tesla will outperform the markets, and keep in mind that when we go back to our data, when we look right over here, you could see that on our seasonality, Thursdays and Fridays tend to be very, very different. So Friday tends to be kind of like indecisive for Tesla. It's like a 50-50 day for us, at least on Fridays. And then historically, although September is a 50-50 month, October does tend to be the weakest month of the year for Tesla. So I would be very careful. And that's pretty much it for now in terms of our data. So Tesla does look like it wants to bounce right here at this support. We might look for some upside tomorrow morning. And then as time goes on, I think Tesla might consolidate and we'll see if we end up breaking or not. I'll talk more about the levels in just a couple of minutes. But that's what I'm looking for heading into tomorrow. When it comes to news and data, tomorrow is Friday, September 19th. There's not really much data coming out. Very, very quiet crude oil data at 1 p.m. Nothing too significant. Initial jobless claims came out. The numbers actually are down a lot. They fell to about 231,000. But of course, these are like cyclical. So some seasons cycles we go down and up, down and up and down and up. Even if we're on a slight uptrend, it might continue to do that. Jerome Powell is still having a lingering effect on the markets because he told us that the Fed is going to be open to more cuts. And this is what's helping the market continue to hold up. They are open to it, although they have to wait and see what the data tells us. Jerome Powell also said the Fed's going to take things on a meeting-to-meeting basis, and they can't make too many promises about the future, although the current projections suggest that inflation is going to fall like a rock soon and unemployment does have higher risks. But the Fed is going to be very persistent, and because of that, we're now pricing in higher probabilities of another cut in October by 25 basis points, and then also a 25 basis point cut in December. So keep that in mind. Finally, when it comes to more data, we don't really have much for tomorrow, very minor earnings. And like I said before, lots of option expirations for tomorrow. One more thing I want to mention is that I'm going to see if our options changes tomorrow. But for SPY on the call side, there's not really much. There is high interest at 663. That has the most volume right over here. So it is possible we touch that level tomorrow. And then on the put side of things, I'm noticing that there is high volume and high open interest right here at 660. Does that mean we kind of like push in the morning to 663, maybe even go to all-time highs, then dip to 660 by close? Maybe. We'll see if this is adjusted, but if the market does do that, it might affect Tesla. So without further ado, let's focus now on the charts and nothing else. What do the charts suggest? So for Tesla, if we're bullish, you want to see us hold above 425. If that holds, we're going to be looking for the upper end of this trend line at 435 to be tested. That's the bullish case. The bearish case is going to be that if we get bad news and Tesla loses 410, which is where the green line is, this is our 20 EMA, there's going to be a risk of us returning to like 402, then the gap fill for 396. I think that we bounce tomorrow morning, we're going to be going for essentially this 425 or so area, but then we might dip back down to where we currently are and then just kind of trade sideways like this and close kind of flat. I think we just get some sideways price action and Tesla consolidates tomorrow. And then heading into next week, we're going to see if Tesla, breaks up or down. It still could be going either way, but it's best to just be very patient and watch your levels, and we'll see what happens from there on out. SPY, however, looks a bit more bullish, and I do think SPY and the QQQ could help Tesla push. I'll show you guys one more thing about Tesla in just a second. Let's first talk about SPY. So if SPY is bullish, you want to see us break and hold above 665 to push for new all-time highs. If we're bearish, you want to see 662 first fail. So if that fails us, I'm looking for 660, then eventually 658. I do think we go a little bit higher, but notice we do have this rising wedge right here. And so far as we get close to it, as we hit the upper resistance and as we hit 665 SPY is rejecting. We could push a bit tomorrow and consolidate like this, but then at the end of the day, maybe like the final hour, there might be a sell-off and we might close somewhat in the red if the trend is going to continue. The green Thursday, red Friday trend, if that's going to continue, this is what we might be doing tomorrow. We kind of push in the morning, consolidate, then we get a sell-off at the end of the day. That is very possible. On the QQQ, it's the same thing. If we're bullish, you want to see us break 598 to break all-time highs. If we lose 594, there's a gap to fill back down around 591. I would not be surprised if we push for like 598 or so, then we turn back down towards like 594, and then we just kind of trade sideways. And maybe at the end of the day, we push to like the lower 590s, and we'll see what happens from there. So for Tesla, like I said before, this might be influenced by the markets, and we might be looking for a temporary move to like 425. Maybe we turn back down, kind of consolidate like the way we did today, and we get kind of like a flat close. Tesla could be looking for something like that, in my opinion, unless we get a major piece of news. Now, on the daily time frame, what you'll notice is that we're kind of weak on the daily. So maybe instead of closing flat, we kind of like pop in the morning and then we end up coming down a little bit and we get a slight red day tomorrow. That could also happen to Tesla. But I do anticipate something like that. Not too volatile close, some upside in the morning, then downside end of day. Either we close kind of flat or we get a slight red day. That is what the daily suggests on Tesla. And if we start losing these supports here, there's also that gap to fill. So you want to be very careful, at least nonetheless. So what do I think for tomorrow? A small push in the morning for 425, then a dip back down, and then some sideways price action for either a flat close or a red close. And I think it's going to be greatly influenced by SPY and the QQQ. That is my prediction. For the IWM, we're looking like we're outperforming SPY and the QQQ as well. It's up huge today, up 2.5%. It also has an inverse head and shoulders like structure right here. So if we end up losing essentially 240, we could turn back down. But as of right now, we're looking very, very strong, and we're favoring an attempt to go for like 248, maybe a little bit higher before this starts to turn back down. But overall, it might get a decent close. It's still holding up well. Looking at ES, we have not lost 66.80, so we're still favoring the all-time high test. And then we're going to see if we turn back down, but overall, we're still holding up quite well, and I still think that we're doing a good job. We might push a little bit higher, then kind of consolidate and close, maybe dip towards the end of the day. But overall, that's all I'm seeing on ES, nothing way too significant. Same thing with the QQQ and the NASDAQ. If we lose 24,500, it's bearish, but I do think we go a little bit higher first. Then we kind of turn down, trade sideways like this. We still might see this close kind of red, but then we'll see what happens after that. So be careful. On Bitcoin, we're dipping a bit. We're going to be watching 116,500. Might bounce a bit before it continues to dip, and I think we trade kind of sideways like that. Tesla, like I said before, might pop in the morning for 425, then dip back down to 410, and we'll likely see some sideways price action. Another thing that concerns me about the QQQ is Nvda. Nvda hit this white line, rejected, and are we about to reject off this? There is a gap to fill at 171 if 174 breaks. So break 178, we're bullish. Lose 174, we're looking for 171. I think we touch this trend line. We're going to see if we could break 178 or not. If we don't hold above the trend line, we could turn back down for 174. So be very careful on Nvda. For Aapl, we're kind of in the middle. If we lose 237, we're looking for 235. But if we break 240, we're bullish. Look for a small push for 240. If that doesn't hold, we could kind of turn back down and retest 235. So be very, very patient, at least nonetheless. Netflix is making a lower high here unless we get back above 1218. Might see a small push before it turns back down, but we're showing some signs of weakness because we're making lower highs on Netflix, and this might end up dipping a little bit more. On MSTR, we're in the middle. We need to get back above 359 to be bullish. Might push a little bit tomorrow morning, and then we could be looking for a retest of 345. Celsius is on a downtrend unless we get back above 56.3. We're favoring a pop and then a dip back down towards like the 54s, so be careful. Supermicro is looking a bit more bullish. It's going to be favoring 47 unless we lose 45.39. I think we could be pushing for 46.5 or above before it turns back down, so there might be some temporary upside. Palantir is on a bit of an uptrend unless we end up losing 170. If 170 fails us, we're bearish. We're trying to make higher lows here, as you guys could tell, and we could be dipping back down towards the lower levels later on. But for now, I think that the odds favor upside, and we could be looking for a 180 test, and then we're going to see if it dips later on. For now, look for some upside closer to 180, most likely. That's what I'm anticipating. For Rivian, we have a nice accumulation as well forming on this. It's favoring a 15 retest. We're going to see if it breaks. There is tough resistance in the 15s. We need to break that to continue to push. If not, we turn back down. For SoFi, we're looking bullish. It's pushing after the Fed have announced that they are planning on more cuts for October and December. Could be looking for 28.5 to 29, and we'll see if we turn. AMD has 158 to 159 as our resistance, and we'll see if it rejects. Look for a push closer to 160, then we'll see if we turn back down or not. ARM has 147 as resistance alongside 115. We'll see how it ends up reacting. Look for 115. We'll see if we turn back down or not. For PayPal, we have resistance at 69.61 and support at 68.05. We're stuck in the middle. We're going to see a retest of 69.6 and then maybe a trend back down because we're still technically just consolidating on PayPal. Not really much is going on. Coinbase pumped very nicely, but it's starting to show some signs of rejection near 350. It could retest the resistance becoming support around 340 flat, then eventually like 335. And we'll see if we bounce after that or not. On Amazon, we have kind of like a head and shoulders like pattern. Unless we get back above 233 to bounce, we're going to be favoring a move back down towards 230, and we'll see if we bounce or not from there. Meta is making higher lows. As long as we don't lose 771, we're going to be favoring 785, and we'll see how it ends up reacting. Google has a nice accumulation here. We're going to be favoring essentially 254, and we'll see how it goes, but this is still favoring upside. And Microsoft is going to be favoring basically 511, and we'll see how it goes. There is some upside potential, though, and we'll see if it rejects. Might see a small push higher for like 511, then we'll see if we turn back down from here. For DJT, we have support down here around this 16.8 area, and we have resistance at 17.2. I do favor 17.2, and we'll have to see what happens after that. The VIX is looking a bit more bullish. Is this about to break out? Is the market about to kind of like go higher and then lower? Are we going to dip like this and start breaking out? Are we about to see a rug pull? We'll see about that. The 10-year is going up and the dollar, which is starting to push, which could be another bearish sign. So we'll see. So the trend suggests that on the daily time frame on SPY, Thursdays, if they're green, we tend to be red on Fridays and vice versa. Today's Thursday, the market was green. So are we about to see a kind of like a push in the morning, then a dip by the end of the day on SPY and the QQQ for tomorrow? And is Tesla about to do the same thing? Are we going to like try to push in the morning, which I think is very probable, dip back down, trade sideways, and maybe get a sell-off at the end of the day? We'll see about that. So that being said, that's what I'm seeing for Tesla, at least for now. That's my short-term analysis. I'm still very, very bullish for the longer term, and I do think we're going to be running to $500 by the end of the year. But we'll see if there's going to be some kind of pullback phase or not. You want to be very, very patient nonetheless. Anyways, I wish you all nothing but the best. I thank you all so much for listening. Have an awesome rest of your guys' days, and I'll be back very soon with another update. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and peace out.